Arsenal came back from the death to draw with Chelsea, having gone 2-0 down. Both keepers, I suppose, had a nightmare. Raya and Sanchez. And obviously there's this debate going on at Arsenal, raging debate going on, Ramsdale or Raya. Like, Graham, from your experience in football, do you think for the squad it's important that the goalkeeper, of all positions, the goalkeeper knows he's the number one? Or is it healthy, as Arteta is thrown out there, that it's healthy to have competition? But is that leaving a little bit of doubt in the keeper's mind, or what?
I think it's healthy to have competition as long as the people that are in the competition are mentally secure enough to know that I'm gonna have to fight for my place, and that has to be on them. I do feel you need trust from your manager. I think someone like myself, I wasn't a goalkeeper, but I played best when I knew the manager trusted me, that even if I did make a mistake, he knew you were going to react in the right way for me. But I don't get this thing where there can't be competition for spots as well, where goalkeepers have to be secure in their, like, you're secure in your performances. That's what keeps you number one, how you perform. I seen the goal that he concedes. Ray is always, the reason he brought him in was to take more crosses and deal with crosses into the box. And he's always on the front foot, ready to go, and he just gets caught out. Like, it's a miss here. Like, it happens. Happened to David Seaman when he was at Arsenal. Happened to him against Ronaldinho.
The World
happened to
Cup,
him against the boy from the halfway line net. I think his name was Neymar as well, was it?
Oh,
Naeem,
yeah, the Spurs lad, yeah.
And so it can happen, like, but I don't agree with this thing of, well, I need to know I'm number one. You become that, you get that need when you perform, and then you go, right, there you go. Like, I even at Drogheda, Stephen Gray was the left-sided centre-back when I came in, and he was in the team of the year I signed, and then eventually, now I'd be really good friends with Gray to this day, but it was a competition, like, and I knew if I don't perform in consistent games here, he's going to take my spot, and that's the way it goes. And then even at St Johnson, I dislocated my shoulder up in Aberdeen, and I came back and I ended up playing way too early on it. The manager just pushed me, I need you, and I'm getting injections into my shoulder, and playing, I think 5 weeks after I popped my AC joint, which should have been a 3-month job. And I'm going, and then Michael Dewberry walks in the door.
Michael Dewberry?
Yeah, so he signs and he takes my spot, but the manager was keeping me going because we'd no one else, and then my spot's gone, and I'm thinking, I've just played through excruciating pain.
Well, that's one thing that I do question about this situation, is that, like, I know obviously Arteta is a good manager. That's not what I'm saying when I say this, but I do get a whiff of bullshitter off him a little bit, like in some of the things that he says and the way that he spoke about, like, how the goalkeeping position is the exact same as an outfield position. If one player's not playing well, the other player will be in. But I suppose the real first test of that was, okay, when it comes to the big games, who's it going to be, Ramsdale or Raya? And Raya got the shout. And now the next test of this is going to be, okay, Raya's had a bad game now. Is Ramsdale going to be substituted in the same way as an outfield player would? Or were you bullshitting him? Because I think that does a lot between the trust of the manager, that, like, kind of like what you're saying there, is that when push came to shove, you were actually put to the side and this other player was brought in. So it's like, what does that do for the relationship between Ramsdale and Arteta?
Yeah, that's a great point. And like you said, it's that thing of, like, you've said all this. I agree with you with Arteta's trying to appease everybody. He's trying to appease both players and the press at the time, who are constantly asking him about it. And he comes out with this thing where you're like, yeah, but the proof is in the pudding, is that if he deems Raya's mistake enough to drop him, will he stand over dropping him?
Yeah.
And I don't look. I think his pass out isn't great. I think obviously the cross doesn't, but he's brought in to play. He's brought in for them two reasons: is that he's better with the ball at his feet, and he's better on crosses. Yeah. So he's brought him in for that. So if them two things start letting him down, then he has to stand over not playing him. But I don't think he was that bad.
After one game, and
correct.
That's what makes it so hard as well. Is that okay? So he said this about Ramsdale, but if he drops Raya after one bad game, what does that say to Raya? It's like, oh, like, you don't have any confidence then as a goalkeeper.
Even like different things pop up when you're talking and remind you. Like, Dan Connor was their goalkeeper at Drogheda, and Paul Doolan had gone all out to bring him in from Waterford. Brilliant goalkeeper. don't realise how good he was. He came back and played in that charity game, and he was a joke. And then
Still
oh
good.
yeah, he was just smacking the ball all over the shop. I was like, "Do you want me to take it?" Nah, you're all right. Hit more accurate than me. I was like, "Great ball," and just running off, thinking I wouldn't have been able to hit that. But we had Gary Rogers had been at Drogheda, and Gary Rogers goes on to have a great career in League of Ireland. But Dan at the time was better than him, and Dan got suspended for 3 games. And when the suspension was up, Gary hadn't conceded a goal in the 3 games. We kept 3 clean sheets. Played in front of a good back forward at the time, but but we're going, what does he do? He just put Dan straight back in.
Yeah,
he's like, he's my keeper, like.
Yeah, he's my number one.
He's my number one.
Yeah,
and Gary left the following year, I think, or the year after. But he was like, no, Dan's my number one. Now Dan ended up getting a really bad hip injury. Where I'm thinking, geez, we could do a guy's back now, but that was Paul's thing of he's been number one.
Yeah. Like maybe it's just my personality, but I prefer someone who's just up front of me and like treat me like an adult. Like if I think, and I feel like Ramsdale, I don't know him obviously, but I feel like that's his personality as well. Is that if he said to Ramsdale, "Look, I'm bringing Raya in, he's going to be my first choice because he shows attributes, but if you improve, you'll be my number one, and I'll trust you. But you're going to have to prove it to me now." Whereas, like, I just think the nonsense.
Coaching's tough like that.
I know, yeah. I know it's not always as clear.
Yeah, because you have to, like, they're gonna need him at some stage. They're gonna need Ramsdale at some stage. And if you're that up front from him and he goes, right, I'm going, and you call in someone else that costs you, you're gonna get asked the question, why didn't you tip him along? Like, it is. Like,
I agree with you though, but when you say, but it wasn't that much of a calamitous. There weren't calamitous mistakes on Sunday. I think a lot of credit has to go to Declan Rice. That was some finish.
That's a great finish.
It was an absolutely brilliant finish.
That was their first shot on target in the game. That's how poor they were.
Yeah.
But it sparked them, didn't it? It gave them
And that shows you where Arsenal are at the moment. I suppose they have that resilience about them, don't they? They've been touted as the closest challengers to City. They go 2-0 down in a London derby against a revived Chelsea, and yet they still come back and still get the draw.
Just expecting Kanu to come on, right?
yeah. Do you remember that goal?
Yeah.
Oh yes,
but
amazing.
you are like in that. But like you said, that thing of maybe 3 or 4 years ago, Arsenal don't come back in that game. Rice sparks them with the goal. It's a mistake, but then they think, right, we're going to get one here. It does feel that there's so much on it at the moment because of the pace that City have set over the last few years, and throw Liverpool into that the year they won it as well. But like the year Liverpool have gone toe to toe Man City in 2 title races, and the following year they literally fell off a cliff because to stay with them, it's just so tough. And Arsenal doing it last year, they just couldn't see it out. But they're just relentless.
They aren't,
like